everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're diving deep into something that's been blowing up in the color grading world, Dehancer. If you've ever wanted your digital footage to look like real film, not just a LUT slapped on top, but actual film emulation with grain, elation, bloom, and that organic texture, this is for you. In this video, I'm going to break down what Dehancer actually is, how it works, the key tools inside it, a full step-by-step workflow, and whether it's actually worth your money. Let's get into it. Now let's go through a full workflow. There are different ways to color manage your footage. One is to grade everything inside Dehancer itself, although you might need to do some tweaks before and after the plugin. So I create a node with Alt-S. In my effects I choose Dehancer and drop it onto the node. First I set my input profile inside plugin's interface. This tells Dehancer what kind of footage you're working with, like log footage from your camera. This is super important because it ensures accurate color transformation. Then I adjust exposure. In Dehancer, the main difference between input exposure and print exposure lies in their purpose within the image processing pipeline. Input exposure is a technical correction of the raw footage, while print exposure is a creative adjustment of the final, printed image. Bonus tip: activate false color IRE or clipping indication checkbox in the monitor section to see if you are over or underexposing your footage. Defringe helps to eliminate the chromatic aberrations in the source image, which may interfere with some of the Dehancer effects, such as halation and bloom. So I disable it. Film profile. This is where the magic starts. You can choose from different film stocks, each with its own look. Some are more contrasty, some lean toward warmer tones. Others are cooler. Here I use Kodak Vision 350D because it fits the style I want to achieve. The push-pull slider digitally simulates the analog film technique of overdeveloping, pushing, or underdeveloping, pulling, to adjust contrast, color, and exposure, without simply changing the brightness. Contrast boost is self-explanatory. Gamma correction is a non-linear control that shifts midtones toward shadows or highlights, effective only when the contrast boost is not zero. Color separation is a parameter that simulates the chemical behavior of film developers on emulsion layers, controlling how colors are separated or blended, allowing users to increase or decrease the distinction between colors, often used to create a more vibrant or filmic punch. Color boost is a gentle, intelligent saturation tool that increases or decreases the overall saturation of an image without clipping colors. Unlike standard saturation, it boosts less saturated areas more. This parameter determines the degree of compression. The higher the impact value, the more the highlights are pushed towards the midtones. The white point parameter defines the film clipping threshold and directly affects contrast because it determines the steepness of the transition to the clipping area. This parameter represents the width of the tonal range. A minimum value means no compression. A maximum value means that the compression affects the wide range from the brightest highlights almost all the way down to the deepest shadows. Expand tool provides a separate manual control for black and white points in relation to the output color space. Set the black and white points to fit an image into a dynamic range of your timeline color space. Optical printing is the only analog solution that can be used for proper interpretation of the negative films. Beyond the technical significance, any print medium has its own tint, photo latitude, and contrast curve that makes it a useful creative tool. In the print parameters group, you have a choice of the print mediums. In this instance I choose Kodak Endura Glossy Paper. The exposure tool is based on characteristic curves of optical prints. The tonal contrast, increase the value to give more punch or apply negative correction to visually soften an image. color density is at traditional digital saturation affects all hues equally and linearly. This is a more traditional saturation control based on altering the chroma components in YCRCB space. Subtractive CMY color head is based upon the analog color correction tool integrated in photo enlargers. The similar method is used in printer lights, a special device for optical movie printing to a positive film. Both have the same principle, changing the color of light used for print exposure. In Dehancer, the color head tool is represented with three complementary color pairs, YMCBGR or commonly used CMYRGB, combining both analog devices into one digital tool: yellow, blue, magenta, green, cyan, red. The effect of changing these parameters corresponds respectively to their labels. Toning refers to giving a paper print or film positive additional tints that are not originally characteristic of a particular media combination. Unlike the digital world, where you can fill the entire picture with a single hue, analog media is more varied. In addition to the natural variations across the tonal range, a print can be intentionally colored with different tints in the shadows, midtones, or highlights. When preserve exposure is set to 100%, it automatically compensates any exposure changes introduced by the color head corrections. This slider adjusts an overall impact of the effect, acting like opacity. Real grain on film isn't just overlaid on top of an image, but in fact the image itself entirely consists of grain. Dehancer literally reconstructs the shot, using the local color and brightness characteristics along with a complex physical modeling of a film emulsion. Halation is the film emulsion effect visible as the local red-orange halos around the bright light sources, specular highlights and contrasting edges. Also, halation may produce a well-pronounced red glare in the midtones, mostly affecting the skin tones. Bloom emulates the combined effect of light dispersion on the boundaries of contrasting image areas, which originates in the optical system, and then amplified in the emulsion layers. Enable mask mode to see the effect better. The film breath effect is an accidental change in exposure, contrast, and color from frame to frame as the film moves. Gateweave stands for mechanical swinging of a film strip while it is being pulled through a frame window in a film camera, projector, or video coding device. Film damage produces dust, hair, scratches, stains, and emulsion irregularities. Damage inevitably appear on film. Usually film is scanned with additional area for further processing. In this case, the scanning area may contain the interframe space, perforations, portions of the previous and next frame. Normally, scans are cropped using the exposed area, but sometimes information outside the film gate is intentionally included. This technique is called overscan. In lens design, vignetting is usually considered a flaw. However, it is also a proven creative tool that allows for better focusing on a subject and adds extra depth. Although the vignette tool is located at the very bottom, it is recommended to adjust it at the beginning of color grading since it affects the exposure and usually increases contrast between the edges and a frame center, thus requiring additional adjustments of the exposure and contrast. Since Dehancer is a resource-demanding tool, in some cases it is more convenient to export a grading look as a LUT file for further DIT on stage or real-time dailies grading. Dehancer LUT incorporates the color and contrast attributes within the plugin and doesn't include any other nodes, adjustments, nor CST. Choosing between Davinci Wide Gamut Rec 709 and Davinci Wide Gamut Intermediate in the Dehancer input settings dictates how the plugin interprets the gamma, dynamic range, of your footage, even though both use the same wide color gamut, Davinci Wide Gamut. Davinci Wide Gamut/Intermediate is intended for high dynamic range workflows, providing maximum headroom for highlights and saturated colors, often used with log footage. Davinci Wide Gamut/Rec 709 is designed for standard dynamic range workflows, offering a more constrained, contrasty, and ready-to-use look for the viewer, typically used when the footage is already nearing standard contrast. After I convert the footage into Davinci Wide Gamut color space, I simply grade my footage in Dehancer using all the necessary tools. Here I have a clip already converted to Rec 709. These are my project settings and preferences in Davinci Resolve. I work on a Mac, thus some features won't be present on a PC. In Dehancer I choose Rec 709 in the input section of the plugin and do all the grading inside and before it. There is no need for color space transforms because Dehancer outputs the image in Rec 709 after all the grading is done. So, is Dehancer worth it? If you're serious about filmmaking, color grading, creating a cinematic look, then yes, it's one of the best tools out there. You can download Dehancer for After Effects, Final Cut, Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Davinci Resolve and even Baselight. This tool is not cheap, and if you're just starting, it might be overkill. But it is definitely worth it. That's it for the tutorial. Of course there are more in Dehancer, detailed information you can find on Dehancer website, and there is a trial, free version of the plugin available for different platforms and devices. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.